In the ashes of World War II, amidst a world divided by the Iron Curtain, a new alliance was born. As the smoke cleared from the devastation of the most destructive conflict in human history, the world found itself on the precipice of yet another ideological clash. This time it was the democratic West, led by the United States, standing against the communist East, led by the Soviet Union. In the immediate aftermath of the Second World War, the geopolitical landscape was reshaped dramatically. Countries were picking up the pieces, rebuilding and forming new alliances. Among the ruins and the rubble, the seeds of a new conflict were sown. A struggle not of armies and battlefields, but of ideologies and influence, the Cold War. In the face of a growing Soviet threat and the haunting specter of the Iron Curtain that was descending across Europe, 12 nations joined together in a pledge of mutual defense. These founding members, including the United States, Canada, and 10 Western European nations, sought to create a bulwark against the tide of communism that was sweeping across the continent. Their objective was clear: to safeguard the freedom and security of their people through political and military means. This wasn't just an alliance of convenience or circumstance, it was an alliance of shared values and common objectives. It was an alliance built on the principles of democracy, individual liberty, and the rule of law. It was an alliance designed to maintain peace and stability, to deter aggression, and to defend each other should one be attacked. And so, in the heart of a divided world, a beacon of hope emerged. An alliance the likes of which the world had never seen. An alliance that would stand as a formidable counterweight to the Soviet Union and its Warsaw Pact allies. An alliance that would come to play a pivotal role in the geopolitical chess game of the 20th century. And thus, in 1949, NATO was born, a beacon of hope in a time of uncertainty. As Cold War tensions escalated, NATO's importance in maintaining peace and stability became increasingly evident. A series of crises threw into sharp relief the role of this alliance in the geopolitical landscape of the time. Let's take a step back to June 1948. The Soviet Union implemented a blockade on all rail, road, and water traffic into West Berlin, effectively cutting off supplies to over 2 million people. This was the Berlin Blockade, a high-stakes chess move in the heart of Europe. In response, NATO members led by the United States and the United Kingdom orchestrated the Berlin Airlift, a massive humanitarian operation that kept West Berlin alive, underlining the alliance's commitment to collective defense, an early testament to NATO's resolve. Fast forward to the early 60s and the world found itself on the brink of nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Soviet Union had placed nuclear missiles in Cuba, a mere 90 miles from U.S. shores. NATO, as an alliance, was instrumental in navigating these treacherous waters, providing a united front that eventually led to the Soviet Union backing down. Throughout the Cold War, the specter of nuclear warfare loomed large. NATO's strategy of nuclear deterrence played a pivotal role in maintaining a fragile peace. The alliance's policy of flexible response aimed to deter a Soviet attack by maintaining a credible threat of nuclear retaliation. It was a high-risk strategy, a game of global chicken, but it held the line. NATO's role was not just about military might, it also offered a beacon of democratic values and political cooperation, a stark contrast to the authoritarian regimes of the East. This ideological aspect of NATO's mission was just as crucial in maintaining stability during these tense decades. Throughout the Cold War, NATO stood firm, a bulwark against the storm of potential conflict. Its collective defense strategy, diplomatic unity, and unwavering commitment to democratic principles held the line against the threat of global war, preserving peace for its member nations during one of the most precarious periods in modern history. With the fall of the Soviet Union, NATO found itself in a world transformed. As the dust of the Cold War settled, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, had to navigate new geopolitical currents. The world was no longer split into two ideological camps, and with the end of the Cold War, NATO's original purpose, to counter Soviet expansionism, seemed a relic of the past. But the alliance didn't dissolve. Instead, it adapted and evolved, addressing new challenges and expanding its reach. NATO began to redefine its security concepts, shifting its focus from solely a collective defense alliance to a broader security organization. This shift was symbolized by the adoption of new strategic concepts in the mid-90s and early 21st century. The expansion of NATO was another significant transformation. From its original 12 members, NATO increased to 30, embracing many former Warsaw Pact countries. This enlargement was seen as a way to promote stability and democracy in Eastern Europe, but it was not without controversy, particularly from Russia, who saw it as a threat. NATO also found a new role in crisis management and peacekeeping. The Balkans in the 90s were a clear example. Here, NATO intervened to end years of conflict and ethnic cleansing, a move that marked a turning point in the alliance's history. It was the first time NATO took military action outside the territory of its member states. And then came Afghanistan. NATO's involvement in the Afghan conflict post 9/11 marked another shift in its mission, from Euro-Atlantic security to a more global role. This operation was NATO's longest and most challenging, raising questions about the alliance's capabilities and its evolving role in the world. In a world no longer divided by the Iron Curtain, NATO adapted, growing and evolving with the times. The post-Cold War era has seen NATO transform from a defense pact into a multifaceted alliance, ready to meet the challenges of a rapidly changing world. In the 21st century, NATO continues to face new challenges and adapt to a rapidly changing world. As the geopolitical landscape shifts, so too does the nature of the threats that NATO must confront. It's no longer just about tanks, fighter jets, and submarines. The threats have evolved, and so has NATO. In today's digital age, cyber defense has become a key priority. Our interconnected world is more vulnerable than ever to cyber attacks, capable of disrupting infrastructures, economies, and even democratic processes. NATO is at the forefront of this digital battlefield, developing robust cyber defense strategies and capabilities to protect its members. And then there's the issue of terrorism. In the wake of the September 11th attacks, NATO invoked Article 5 for the first time in its history, marking an era of active counterterrorism efforts. From Afghanistan to Iraq, NATO has been involved in numerous operations to dismantle terrorist networks and prevent future attacks. Yet, despite these new threats, some things remain constant. Relations with Russia continue to be a significant concern, as the specter of the Cold War still lingers. NATO continues to aim for a constructive dialogue with Russia, while also remaining firm in defending the principles of democracy and the sovereignty of its member nations. And let's not forget about China. As it grows in economic and military strength, NATO must grapple with the implications of this emerging superpower. The alliance is faced with the task of navigating this complex relationship, balancing competition with cooperation where it's possible. Hybrid warfare, too, is a new reality. This involves a mix of conventional, irregular, and cyber warfare, along with disinformation campaigns. NATO is constantly adjusting its strategies to combat these multidimensional threats. In an ever-changing world, NATO remains a critical pillar of global security. Its ability to adapt, to evolve, and to meet new challenges head-on is a testament to the strength of its alliance. And as we move further into the 21st century, NATO's role as a guarantor of peace, stability, and security is more crucial than ever. From its birth amidst the Cold War tensions to its current role in the 21st century, NATO's importance is undeniable. Let's reflect on what we've learned. In the aftermath of the Second World War, NATO emerged as a beacon of collective security against the rising threat of Soviet expansion. The Iron Curtain had descended, and the Western allies knew they needed to stand together to protect their shared values of democracy, liberty, and the rule of law. Throughout the nerve-wracking days of the Cold War, NATO held the line. The Berlin blockade, the construction of the Berlin Wall, the Cuban Missile Crisis, these were all moments when the world teetered on the brink of disaster. And in each of these instances, NATO stood as a bulwark against aggression and a symbol of collective determination. With the end of the Cold War came a new era, and NATO had to adapt. The collapse of the Soviet Union and the dissolution of the Warsaw Pact presented both opportunities and challenges. NATO embraced former Warsaw Pact countries, extending the hand of friendship and alliance to those who had once been adversaries. In crisis regions like the Balkans and Afghanistan, NATO stepped in to stabilize and rebuild, proving its worth beyond the confines of Europe. And now, in the 21st century, new challenges have emerged. Counterterrorism, cyber defense, hybrid warfare, these are the threats of a new age. And yet NATO remains at the forefront, evolving and adapting to meet these challenges head-on. Relations with Russia and China, two major global players, are part of this complex landscape, and NATO's role in navigating these relationships is crucial. As we've seen, NATO's importance extends far beyond its military capabilities. It's a symbol of unity, a forum for dialogue, and a force for peace. It's the glue that holds the transatlantic alliance together, a testament to what can be achieved when nations stand together in pursuit of a common goal. As we look towards the future, NATO's role remains as vital as ever, a testament to the power of alliance and cooperation in our world.